All right, you maggots, listen up. Now, what you're looking at is a Blu-ray DVD. It might not be called DVD, but it's a Blu-ray movie. And below it is a Samsung player. Got the Samsung player brand new in a box, $10 at the yard sale months ago. Now, I've also bought that because I started noticing that there's people at yard sales that are selling Blu-ray DVDs, and I had no way of playing them. So I went looking for a new player, and I found someone that didn't want to get involved with DVD movies anymore. They got burned. In other words, this Samsung unit, if you hooked it to the internet late at night, it got updated and it got bricked, and you had to send it back, and they'd fix it. Well, anyway, this person had it, and it was nothing but trouble for them. So they sold it to me for $10. I also noticed that Blu-ray DVDs really don't have any good movies on them, but the person has spent $12 for them, and I get it from them for $1. But I want to tell you that yard sales are a hobby. Now, I'm fortunate enough that I have a bunch of neighborhoods around me that used to be cornfields. Now they're housing developments. Each housing development has some condos in it. It has some single homes. It's got some duplexes. It's got some row homes. So in each neighborhood, you have a variety of housing. And income is slightly different between the houses. Some people have both husband and wife work, some just a husband. And then some places, the condos have Section 8 people in them. But in other words, they were cornfields, now they're neighborhoods. And every day I go for a long walk. I walk one of the neighborhoods. So when I see it's having a yard sale, I know what neighborhood it is. I know where it is. I walk there. I go over there, and from walking there, I've stopped and talked to people, and I know some of the people in each neighborhood. And I know if they have children, you're going to have baby clothes. If they're a couple, a husband and wife, without children, you're going to most likely have DVDs and other stuff that are is hobby related if they have it out. But I want to tell you, you learn a lot from yard sales. People are spread out enough that when you walk up to them, you might have a few minutes to talk to them until their next customer comes. And a lot of these people I know, I've met them before. I stand there and I talk to them. You can tell who has college just the way they talk, what they talk about. It's a different mindset than if you went to like a church bazaar or something like that, and you have vendors in there, and these people, they buy stuff or get it out of the garbage, and now they're reselling it. Where a yard sale, it's usually the person's personal items. They'll tell you how they got it as a gift, or they bought it, and they'll tell you why they don't like it, or it's a hobby they're no longer interested in. So I walk through there, and I've got the tripod for my camera that the camera's on right now. That was $1. I have another tripod I bought for $1, and that holds a work light. I finally bought another tripod, and I mounted a work light to it. So there are things that I will buy at a yard sale. Movies, I buy baseball caps for walking. I like to wear a good baseball cap. So I do spend a couple bucks every once in a while. But what I find most interesting is talking to people that have more education than myself and what they talk about versus what my neighborhood talks about. Now, my yard sale for my neighborhood is this coming Saturday. It's a whole different mindset. The people are struggling. They're out there selling stuff, hoping to get a few extra dollars, so maybe they can go out to dinner, or they can pay down their electric bill. It's a different type of yard sale, where if you go a quarter mile away to one of the better neighborhoods, they give stuff away for almost nothing, and it's high quality. And I want to tell you about the one yard sale I went to. We have a place called the Willows, and it's two sections, two big sections of the neighborhood, really big houses, really expensive houses. They're McMansions. And it's behind the Music Center off of Route 30 in Lancaster. And the first house I walked into, I saw these handwritten signs, trains, trains. So I get up there, and there's an old lady sitting in the corner. I said, oh, did anything happen to your husband? He's selling his trains. She says, no, they're my sons. I said, oh, okay. So I go starting looking, and there's another guy standing there, and he's looking. And I said, oh, you need some more trains? It's a sort of funny thing with me. I have a friend that's really into trains. And this guy goes, no, he says, I got rid of all my trains. He says, I sold them to my neighbor across the street who's heavily into it. So I said, oh, okay, because I have a friend that's heavily into trains. So we got talking, and we're looking in the box, and the boxes are just total crap. And what it is at the end of train shows, people will put a box out in front of their table, and they'll put like the whole box for $1, or that's what this guy bought. So I went back and talked to the woman. It was her son, and she says to me, he just keeps bringing this stuff home. Total crap. The tracks are bent, they're rusted, they're missing the pins. A nightmare. But the person's buying in bulk, and they're buying cheap. They're buying real cheap. But I leave there, and I go down to another guy, and he seems overwhelmed, and they're putting stuff out. Him and his wife, and I said, what is all this stuff? I said, this is just one family? He says, he looks up at me and he says, look, he says, people keep dying around me, brothers, sisters, uncles, whatever, and they keep leaving the stuff to him. So he's got 3 storage units of stuff that he's finding out nobody wants. So I know what that is. I know what he's going to. I see the look on his face. I leave there, and I go down a few houses around the corner, and I see a guy that's, the front of the house is just totally loaded up. But it's a young guy, and I walked up to him, and I said, where'd you get all this stuff? He says, this is from a storage locker. And it was all dungarees, all different sizes. It was basically like a clothing store for jeans that closed down, and they put the stuff in the storage unit. He bought it, and he had customers. Oh boy, did he have customers. So I mentioned, I said, yeah, I said, the guy around the corner has got storage units from people that are deceased. And I said, he's struggling over there. And the guy says, yeah, someone told me. And I told him again, I said, yeah, you make the turn on the street, 3 houses in. I said, maybe you should go talk to him. Maybe you can help him out. But see, storage units years ago were like $88 a month. Now they're like $388. And you put stuff in there, and after a while, the price of the storage unit becomes worth more, that you paid out more to store it than it's worth. Well, he brought the stuff from, this one guy bought the stuff from 3 storage units that he thought would sell, and it wasn't selling. I think it was day 2 of the yard sale. And I didn't get involved. I had to walk away. I knew what he was up against. I could see the look on his face. But when you walk around, the best deals you're going to get is a young couple that don't have children, and they're just spending money. They both work. They don't know if they want to have children, and you can see when you're standing there talking to them, you can see the toys that the guy has in the garage. You know, the electric bike, the electric scooter, bow and arrow stuff, fishing stuff, skiing stuff, a snowmobile. Those people are just dumping the stuff. And that's where I got this Blu-ray. The guy had 8 Blu-rays in the box. And I said to him something, and he goes, yeah, he says, it's too expensive. The movies on Blu-ray really aren't that good. And he had like 8 or 12 of them there. I bought one, and I just took a chance on this movie for $1. But the mindset that you meet people. Now, I met one guy, I'm walking along, and I look down the street, and I see a guy sitting out there on the lawn chair, and he looks to be about my age, and he looked physically fit, really good. And he had stuff out there that I know isn't going to sell. So I walk up there, and he starts getting like real friendly, waving to me and stuff as I'm walking up. And he's just a real friendly person. And I got talking to him. He's a little bit older than me. He's retired. He loves it. And I just had to stop him when he was talking. I said, what's your hobby? And he said, cooking. And he says, it's real. I looked at him. He's not overweight. And I kidded him. I said, you got to be careful when you constantly cook. You might overeat. And he was laughing. But what I should have done was spend a little more time with him and see if he could mention any other hobbies. But that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a new hobby. I have a ton of hobbies, but each hobby runs its course. Like even the fish. When I redid the fish tank, I was sort of sorry I got into it, but I still had the fish from 10 years ago. The cousin of the brother, the nephew and the brother and the father and the generations of guppies. And they're not worth really anything, but I redid the fish tank. It cost me a lot of money to redo it and set it all up. But I did it just because I had those fish for so many years. And I didn't want to flush them down the toilet. All right. So I reset that up. But I'm always looking for a new hobby to add to the mix. And I've been asking people. And some of the things that you see and the person really lets you in on it was I saw this woman, and I don't know if you've ever seen these stamps, these inking stamps. You ink them and then you stamp them on paper. You could put the patterns on cloth and make stuff out of it. And I asked the woman about that. I said, I see these stamps and stuff. And the reason I saw the stamps was they were in a case that looked like a Blu-ray. And she opened it up and she's showing me, and she says, and then she showed me the progression over the years. They were in a wooden box. The stamps were wood, and they're just rubber. The thing that you hold when you stamp has changed. So every few years, if you stay in that hobby, you've got to keep rebuying stuff, or you got to buy it on eBay as used. And that's what I like to do. I'll buy something. I'm not gonna change my DVD player unless it's worth my while. In other words, I was watching DVDs on my computer. And then at some point, I realized I couldn't play Blu-rays. So the woman offered me the player for $10. I came home, I read about it, I realized don't hook it to the internet. It's got a problem anyway. So I get the DVD player, and it works. It's a little difficult to operate, but I'm able to play Blu-rays. But then I realized that most of the Blu-ray movies are remakes. They're not the old movies that I might like and stuff. But there's a lot involved with yard sale as a hobby. Now I tell you, when you go to yard sale, go to a community yard sale. Don't go to just one house. You got to find parking on the road. It's usually on a country road. It could be dangerous. They're going to have real junk. Where when you have a community yard sale, you park somewhere and you walk around and you get a much larger variety of people and junk. Okay, because it's junk. It's their junk. They just want to get rid of it. But like I said, I buy my hats for less than $1 each. It's a $12 hat. It's a Phillies hat or whatever. I found this one woman. Her husband was into archery, and he has some really good carbon fiber company hats, and they're really well made, and they're old. Anyway, I'm still wearing those out, and she says, here, I'll give you 2 for $1, and they're really well made hats. Now, if you go up to Lids and get a hat, they're like $12. You go to a yard sale, they're usually about $1 to $2. So when you walk up to a yard sale, most of the things there are 10 cents on the dollar. And what I do is I look at it. Is it complete? Do I need it? And if it is, I don't mind paying 10 cents on the dollar. And we have Amish here. And when you see them in a huddle at a house, that's going to be a good house. Now, in my case, when I get over there, it's usually baby clothes. I told you once before, Amish people, they dress their children with English clothing underneath maybe some other windbreaker. And they get the clothing for next to nothing at an English person's house. Now, an English person is anybody that's not Amish. So they come heavily with the Penny Saver. It's a newspaper that's free. They get that. They show up, and they buy practical stuff. If you have a bag of Brillo pads that you only used one, they'll buy that because they know that's a consumable. So if you sell them a bag of Brillo pads for $1, they know that bag goes for $6. It's a consumable. They know they'll use it at some point. That's what they buy. Now, I've gotten basically the same way. I know to take a chance on a movie for $1, I mean, how much cheaper can you get? So what I was doing was I'd watch the movie and then I'd resell it at my yard sale and then get the dollar back and then buy another movie somewhere else. And then for a while, I was giving them to a person that told me they were loaning them out to other people, but they weren't. Their DVD player doesn't even work. I caught them in a lie. But there's people out there that are really nice, and you meet them when they're not under the pressure of work. They got all their stuff out there at the yard sale, and they have to be sitting in the shade too. The houses that are in the sun, those people are not in a good mood because they're being baked. But you walk up to them, you talk to them, and you look at what they got, and then they'll key in on the thing, whether it's a good item or a bad item. In most cases, we bought that. We're sorry we bought that. We're trying to get rid of that. And some funny stuff you see, like I'm at a yard sale and I see this old woman. She had to be 80 years old, an Amish woman, and she's bouncing up and down on a little miniature trampoline. And I'm getting nervous because she's got shoes, and you can cut through a trampoline if you got shoes on. And I said something to her, and the woman that was selling it, she says, "How much? How much?" And she bought it. But it was so funny seeing like a woman in their 80s, an Amish woman, bouncing up and down on a little miniature trampoline. I think that trampoline's used for exercise. You step on and off it to some video, but that's what it was. But you see some of the coolest stuff. Now, in my case, when I go to a yard sale, we have Amish people that have little pony carts, and the children, they come to the yard sale in pony carts, and it's cute. You see the little kids going along. You see the older Amish people. A lot of them are using jazzies now. Those are for people that are disabled, and they have a cart on the back of that, and they're pulling their goods, the stuff that they bought, their booty. Let's call it booty. It's interesting, and I'm gonna tell you, if you're gonna go to a yard sale, hit the community ones. Park the car, make sure you're not blocking anybody's driveway, and go for a little walk. And it's interesting. The people that do yard sales are usually friendlier. They're smarter than 50% of the people out there. They know that they have items they need to get rid of, and they depending on how they set it up, and there's work involved in setting stuff up for a yard sale. So you're dealing with someone that's got some smarts to start with. And you will bump into someone that's a hoarder, and they're dragging stuff out of the packed garage and laying it on the ground. And I saw one of those. That was a nightmare. But you see all kinds of people. You see people, like I said, the person that inherits the stuff. Younger people that inherit the parents' crystalware. It's what they call it, crystalware. It's ground glass. There's like little plates and candy dishes. Nobody wants that stuff. And when you watch it, if someone's got a big table of that stuff, the person that comes over and picks it up and looks at it is old, and they put it back down. Even they don't want any more of it. China, Kincaid paintings, Hess trucks. That's all fallen out of favor. Even those printing blocks the woman had, it came and went. There's these little houses too. They're real thin. They look like maybe something you put on a train layout, but they were brickbat for in the living room. Those are always there at the yard sale. Sometimes you get a lot of puzzles, and I found that when I bought puzzles, the person was getting them from an old age home, and they're missing the pieces. And someone keyed me into that. I said, "Hey, I got a puzzle from that woman, and it was missing all the edge pieces." I said, "Oh, she works at an old age home." They put the puzzle out. They put the bag of edge pieces out, and some of the puzzle pieces, and then they put the rest in a closet somewhere. And after a while, she takes the puzzles and brings them to the yard sale. Meanwhile, most of the pieces are still sitting in a table in some old age home. And that's what I got. I got it home. I put up a big table. I'm getting all ready to do this 10,000 piece puzzle, and I realized all the end pieces are missing. I noticed there was a tree in the picture, or in the puzzle, and none of the leaves were there in the pieces, and I got burned. And she wanted like 50 cents for the puzzle, and I gave her $2 because I thought that was too cheap. But she knew what she was selling. But one of the better hobbies is doing yard sales, and I don't mean setting a yard sale up, going to the yard sale. I think that's it. All right, that's it.